Rain of Troy Hotline.
Alicia, Michael, what's going on?
We know you have takes. We have takes.
I'm actually surprised that your rant line, rave line, whatever, isn't completely full.
Why can't we just win a game?
Can I blame Michael Castillo for this?
Can I blame Bob Connolly for this?
Can I put on a zebra shirt and just go out there?
Scratch, claw, up against the wall.
Can't explain it, what I'm feeling right now, guys.
I can't believe it.
Let's open up that rave line! Woohoo! Oh, I can't believe USC is 7-5 again. Oh no!
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Retro Radio. This is the Carcast of USC's 35-31 win over the Texas A&M Aggies in Las Vegas. Death, taxes, and USC taking an SEC soul at the death in Las Vegas. Those are the things that you can sort of guarantee. In 2024, you can guarantee that SC games will be decided by the last play of the game. Still. SC wins 35-31, coming back from 17 points in the second half to win it shockingly, surprisingly. We're going to talk about it here on this episode. As always, you can follow us on social media at Rant of Troy. Email us, rantoftroy@fansite.com. Phone number 818-643-7227. Second What's Brewing Show. I'm your host, Michael Castillo, journalist with my co-host here at the Rant Troy studio in Los Angeles, Alicia Artola.
Hello, everybody.
Yeah.
Let's go.
I got that. Hold on.
Let's go.
There we go.
Let's go.
Yeah, Alicia, I don't think I can only speak for me. You can chime in here. I have never seen a better comeback down 17 points while SC wears white jerseys in a bowl game than this. Have you?
No. Have you
ever seen a better win in a game in which a USC quarterback throws 3 interceptions? I don't think so. I don't think you have.
It's a unique feat. I will.
Unique feat indeed. That. Yes.
I gotta say one thing to start with. SEC. I was embarrassed for the Arkansas fans who were chanting that crap at the end of their bowl game leading into the Vegas Bowl. So it was extra gratifying when USC hands an SEC team the most ridiculous loss of the season. This team is I mean, I put this on Twitter. I think this about sums it up. Like, you can say a lot of things about this USC team. Their strengths, their weaknesses, their mind-numbingly bad clock management, the lack of dedication to the run, some of the worst quarterback play that we've seen in a long, long time. All of that.
4 touchdowns?
But this team is not, like, they don't freaking quit. Like, yeah. It's weird because we've been through this season and it's like this, by all rights, USC fans should look at this season and this team and hate them. Like, this should go down as one of the worst, like, seasons of the century and one of the most infuriating teams of the century. And yet, somehow, some way, this team literally just doesn't freaking quit. And finally, their luck turned around on them and they figured out how to win. And it's so funny that we come here like full circle. I want to preface this by saying that, like, I don't think that a bowl win over Texas A&M means a whole lot when neither of these teams cared about them, when neither of these teams had opt-outs, all that kind of stuff. But I will say that when USC lost to Penn State, I went on an impassioned rant about how, you know, there's this idea that you lose big, then you lose small, and then you win small, and then you win big. And that it felt like after USC played as well as they did against Penn State and came up short, that, like, they were they had a trajectory where they could take that losing late thing and sort of turn it into learning how to win late. And that obviously didn't come to pass because they lost to Maryland and they lost to Washington and they lost to Notre Dame and all this kind of stuff, whatever. But like it was really gratifying to see the season end with them finding a way to win against an SEC opponent that people thought was going to come in and beat USC. And as Ryan in the chat says that, he says, I thought when Paige went out, we were toast. Yeah, USC loses their starting left tackle at the beginning of the game and throws in a young left tackle who hasn't really seen a lot of time, and the offensive line play wasn't always great, but like there was every reason for USC to just shut up shop and lose this game. And they didn't, and I want to commend them for that, because that is as much as I sat there the whole game just like progressively sinking lower and lower into my seat and just like laughing at how miserable everything was. To their credit, this team was down a seemingly insurmountable amount by our standards, and they didn't let that be the end. They responded in really, really great fashion, going down 24-7 in the third quarter, late in the third quarter, I might add, and then to outscore the opposition 20. What did it come out to? 28-7
since then, yeah.
That's finishing. Like the defense did really well to finish. The offense found ways. We're going to talk more about all of the individual players that contributed to that, but I think my biggest conclusion from all of this, to wrap up my sort of opening rant, is that you, Michael Castillo, me, Alicia Artola Castillo, and our good friend Kenneth Martin are never allowed to watch a football game that matters to us together ever again.
No. We've seen a few games with Kenny. We love Kenny. Kenny is always in the chat. He might be in the chat there tonight. We watched the Notre Dame game last year. SC got jigglebagged. We watched the Michigan game this year at our place.
Didn't go well at the end. He came over. We watched the game. He was literally walking out the door and saying goodbye to Jesse when Texas A&M scored their touchdown to go up 24-7. Literally walking into the end zone.
The door's closing.
As the door is closing.
Yep.
And I say, though, they just scored the touchdown before the door closed. And from that point on, USC outscores Texas A&M 28-7.
Yeah.
So I just think that that's the explanation for all of this, really. Mm-hmm. Is the power, the negative power of you, me, and Kenny is too strong for USC to overcome.
Maybe it's just Kenny. Kenny.
Maybe it is just Kenny.
He house sat and watched Jesse when we were in Washington, which means he
USC
watched
lost.
the SC game from here.
I'm
starting to think it's Kenny.
It might just be Kenny.
Wow.
Wow. Yeah. I don't think he's in the chat to defend himself.
F's in the chat for Kenny right now. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Alicia, this is a game for Texas A&M. What does Reign of Reveille sound like right now?
They're pissed.
Because Reign
of Reveille should be furious that they lost on that touchdown throw.
It's, first of all, all the interceptions, the interception in the end zone in the first half, right there by Achille Arnold that took away points, and then SC comes down and scores on that ensuing drive. That could have been, a sliding doors moment in this game. There were a few of those. I've started my streaming career. We've talked about this, not on the pod though. If you want to follow me on Twitch, twitch.tv/MickCast22. Really exciting stuff. Go follow and whatever follow. I think it's follow over there. Alicia, I had a stream yesterday. We started our new season in the league that we're in, the NFLN league that we're in. with our friends who work with the NFL, and did a stream, and I was up 28-10 in that game. I thought it was over a few times, including having a big interception at the end. I did a lot of stupid things at the end and lost the game, and it was gut-wrenching, and it hurt. It was painful. And I didn't think a team could have a similar fate than my Cox did, the South Carolina Gamecocks.
Another SEC team.
Another SEC team. But Texas A&M, I think in this game, not quite as egregious as my loss, but similar in the sense of like, there is no way the Texas A&M should have lost this game. There's no way SC should have won it. SC has zero, excuse to win this game, and they did. And I think this is the thing about SC the last couple of years, under Lincoln Riley. I think that from the outside, I think you can look at it and say, oh, he's lost the team. Oh, there's no spark. There's no this. There's no that. As much as you can say any of those things. Oh, they've lost the momentum. Oh, they can't close. They're mentally weak is the thing that you've said here on this pod. All those things. This team doesn't actually give up in games. It certainly does not always benefit them, right? Like, look at all the games at the end of all the games in which they've lost at the end that have been dogfights that, they don't come up victorious, and it's a win-lose business, and that's what you're ultimately going to be judged on. That's what Lincoln Riley is going to be judged on. That's what you're going to remember everything on. The record at the end of the day is ultimately the be-all and end-all. That is what you are, and that's how you'll go down in the history books and all that stuff. But for what it's worth, SC fought against Notre Dame. Best team they've placed all year. They were down and had no reason to keep fighting in this game. Down multiple offensive linemen. They're down their top 2 running backs. They're down, 3 of their top 4 or 5 receivers. Jaden Maiava made some decisions that were not good.
I mean, let's just call a spade a spade. Jaden Maiava was god-awful for a significant portion of this game.
Yes, and
like you said, there was reason for them to give up on him, too. There was reason for him to give up on himself. And, again, commend him because the way he finished the game, it's like he was a different quarterback. It's like they went and took him into the Blue Medical tent and, swapped out his brain for something else, and suddenly he was composed in the pocket and hitting passes, and just I don't know, it just completely different.
You know what Jaden Maiava reminds me of? Not completely, but Carlos Marmol, former, I think he's a Dodger legend, by the way. Cubs closer, turn of the decade, 2006 to 2012-ish. He had some of the nastiest stuff you've ever seen. To this day, the nastiest slider I've ever seen in my life. It's gross. Falls off a table, knee buckler, that kind of stuff. But when he was off, he was so off, it was horrendous to watch. He was on, you're like, God damn, this dude could be incredible, right? And you look at Jaden Maiava, and there's a lot of that. When it's bad, it looks bad.
Pewitt in the chat compared him to Jameis Winston, and that is beautiful. That's a perfect comparison.
Yes, there's a lot of that, and I think that in a lot of ways, I think this you could look at this and say that this was the perfect game for SC, in the sense that for LOL reasons, it is funny that SC wins and fitting and poetic and all those things in the final seconds in Las Vegas against an SEC team to end the season and begin the season. In a similar fashion where they could have just hit a field goal. Mind you, it would have been a field goal to tie in this instance. But a field goal they didn't get because they scored a touchdown anyways.
You and I were sitting there thinking, like, that's okay. That's fine. Better this than them getting that first down and just running the clock down and kicking a field goal to win. Like,
yeah, and so you get the satisfaction of the watching the comeback happen. The Kyle Ford punctuation on his career is great for him.
That was awesome.
Super cool for Kyle Ford. You get to see Brian Jackson and Marion Peterson both look good. I thought both of them looked like they absolutely should be in SC's rotation next year. I'm not going to sit here and make some sweeping conclusion from a bowl game and say that Brian Jackson should be your starter. That would be ridiculous. But I think absolutely he looks like he and Peterson are worthy of being in a rotation with Eli Sanders, with the guys that just signed in the class and all those guys. Whatever the running back group tends to be, right? So you saw that. You felt good about that. You felt good about Kamari Ramsey making a great play. It was, not a lot of great plays for Eric Gentry. Kind of had a quiet night. Didn't have a typical Eric Gentry night, but you saw him out in action. That would have felt good. That would have been nice little fan service. And you got a definitive answer on Jaden Maiava. On top of all that, in a weird way, it's kind of a perfect day. Is it not?
Well, I mean, a perfect day would have been Jaden Maiava looking like a true starter for USC.
But that would have been if Jaden Maiava throws 6 touchdowns and is 45 of 49 for 600 yards. I think that would have been the clear answer too.
Yeah.
Like you needed a clear answer. Mind you, I think there would have been a lot of skepticism.
I don't think you got a clear answer.
You don't think so? No, there was a clear answer.
295 yards and 4 touchdowns and composure at the end. I'm not sitting here saying that I'm excited about the prospect of Jaden Maiava starting more games for USC, to be quite honest. Having said that, if you are Lincoln Riley and you're looking at the way he finished that game, you can think to yourself, another offseason, I can get him there. Nope. I think the end of this game doesn't allow you to totally write off Jaden Maiava in the way that I think you are ready to do so.
No, I think the end of the game is like, I think it would be not terrible to have to rely on him in a comeback if you need it in a situation going forward. I think he can be a perfectly fine QB2.
Well, QB1, the only option for QB, I don't want to get into this conversation too much right now because we're going to spend the offseason talking about it, but like QB1 is either Jaden Maiava or Hassan Longstreet. And, I don't think either is a particularly ideal option at this point, but that's the reality of where you're at. And where you're at is, instead of completely writing off Jaden Maiava as untenable for next year, Jaden Maiava has proven that even when he's having a miserably bad game, he can come out and win you a game at the end. Sure. And that is something, like, you and I were talking about Miller Moss, and there was a conversation about Miller Moss going on social media during this game because it was stark, the difference between Jaden Maiava, particularly against pressure, and Miller Moss. And like I said at one point, that if you took Miller Moss's composure in the first, 55 minutes of a game, and then Jaden Maiava's composure in the last 5 minutes of game, and you put them together, you'd have one pretty damn good quarterback. The problem for Miller Moss is that he couldn't finish a game strongly, and the problem for Jaden Maiava is he's like shades of Tim Tebow, like only comes alive at the end.
They don't give an
and it's not tenable.
Really pans out in a moment where like there was a thing in the chat about like amnesia. He has amnesia, and that's good. To have. That is good for a quarterback to have.
But it also
especially when you make some of the interceptions that he did, and
I guarantee you that Lincoln Riley will look at that and think, I can fix him. I guarantee you that will be the approach. I
think if he genuinely thought that, I think he would have been starting in week 1.
No, but I'm saying by the end of next year, again, I don't think this is a debate that's worth having on the Carcast, but by the end of next year, I think that's a different, by the beginning of next year, I think that's a whole different equation. The fact of the matter is that one thing that I really want to talk about with the end of this game, aside from Jaden Maiava, starting to not be terrible, is that what USC saw from their wide receivers in this game was significantly better and significantly more encouraging,
yes,
I think, than we'd seen pretty much all season. We knew, number one, we knew that Mekhi Lemon is a hell of a player. Like that, I don't think of everybody on USC's offense, like the one I have the least worry about is Mekhi Lemon. He's amazing. Jacobe Lane, I have looked at as, damn, this kid could be unstoppable if he puts it all together. And it was so good to see him in this game, putting it all together and being that go-to guy that we talked about. And then Kyle Ford is a guy that we've talked about as like, he would come up big in big moments for USC even before he left for UCLA. And it just felt like if he had more opportunities, maybe he could do more with it. And this was the first time this season that we saw a very limited wide receiver rotation. And you could argue that it was the case study for USC going to a more limited rotation at wide receiver going into next year, because it felt like Jacobe Lane, Mekhi Lemon, and Kyle Ford had figured things out by the end of the game. It felt like they had gotten into a rhythm in much the same way that running backs get into a rhythm. And one of the reasons why coaches don't like swapping out running backs too often is because they, you want them to sort of get into the game. And it was kind of cool to see Lane and Lemon and Ford grow into this game in a way that really helped Maiava at the end. So even though, there was a lot of talk about USC losing, top 3 wide receivers in some metric, if you wanted to go for that, I thought it was just very interesting that USC's receiver play was significantly better, even though the offense was bad for a significant portion of this game.
Yeah.
It felt like the receiver play in general was miles better across the board with just those 3 guys being the main guys than USC cycling through 6-7 guys and it feeling like none of them ever felt like they were totally in it.
Right. Yeah. The crazy thing is you look at Maiava had 39 pass attempts. 30 of them came between Lemon, Lane, and Ford. I just realized all 3 of those are car names.
Lemon, Lane, and Ford.
Like not car names, but car terms. That's beautiful.
That's lovely.
Peterson Automotive Museum.
Hey!
Maiava doesn't work, but Maiava cut his own pass. But you look at it; those are the only guys that the only receivers that caught a pass. I think Jay Fair had a target. Richardson had a target.
You know what's interesting too? I just went to, well, it's not quite the same, but like last year's Holiday Bowl was very Taj Washington, Mekhi Lemon, and Jacobe Lane. And, other players got involved in a way that USC didn't really have in this game because they caught passes. Deuce Robinson and Kyron Hudson and Dorian Singer and Zachariah Branch all caught passes. But, like, it was those top 3. And now you've just swapped Kyle Ford for Taj Washington. And, again, it's an offensive performance that really works for USC. I don't know if that's a fair thing to draw a conclusion on, but it's something.
Yeah, absolutely. We got a super chat. Big ups to SJ.
Hey, good old SJ.
Yeah,
Thank you.
SJ's the best. Not San Jose, by the way. SJ in Santa Barbara.
SJ in Santa Barbara. Yeah.
Yeah. SJ San Jose. Bad. Boo. We don't like San Jose, but SJ we love. SJ says, Alicia and Michael, thanks for being there all season. Thank you for being here all season. You guys are awesome, especially SJ. Alicia, going back to the receivers. I think you're right. I think that Lane and Lemon really showed how good they can be coming forward next year. Obviously, Ford doesn't have any eligibility left, but I think going forward, it's going to be interesting to see what that receiving core looks like when you talked about like lesser rotation. Obviously, you're gonna have a situation where somebody gets hurt and all that stuff. You're gonna need more bodies. But I think there was a sign that, yeah, more field time definitely helped. I think the other thing is with Jacobe Lane, he has been up and down all season in terms of productivity. But dare I say he's been very reliable when targeted? He dropped a fourth down against the UCLA. He dropped the fourth down, right? But like what I'm saying is like when they've gone to him, he has been nails. He has been a touchdown machine. All of that.
He's a really, really good player. Like he's a really good player, and
yes.
I think that there have been times this season where he and a lot of the other receivers weren't able to get separation, and maybe this is just a better matchup for them against this secondary.
But he's been up and down the pecking order at receiver. That's sort of what I'm saying.
Well, you know what I wonder? I wonder too if like part of Lane's problem might be that, and I think all of these guys theoretically, there was like a stylist, like they're typecast, right? So Mekhi Lemon and Zachariah Branch are occupying the same space. And so trying to split it between the two of them didn't work because, you would have been just better off targeting Lemon the whole time. And Kyle Ford is occupying the same space as like the Kyron Hudson, where they're the veteran sort of outside receiver who you're just trying to sort of use as a guy at the sticks kind of thing. But because they're both occupying that space, you can only have one of them on the field at one time. And so you're sort of getting mixed results from them because you're swapping them out and about. And Jacobe Lane, it felt like, even though I don't think they occupied the literal same position, the function in the offense that Lane and Deuce Robinson were filling was essentially the same. As they're the jump ball guys, they're the big body guys, and again, like you were splitting time between the two of them. And Deuce Robinson, I mean, the most frustrating thing about Deuce this season is he had drops and he had inconsistency and unreliability. And Lane, it just felt like while it wasn't quite the same like drops and very in your face kind of mistakes, it felt like he did disappear in a lot of games. And you're right, when he was the focal point of the offense, he was unstoppable. But he wasn't always the focal point of the offense, and then you just never saw him, never saw or heard from him. So just paring that down to, you still kept your three archetypes. It's just that you only had three guys running those archetypes, and they all were better off for it.
Yeah, and I think that it's a good testament to Jacobe Lane that he didn't get down on that right? Like I
did not expect Jacobe Lane to, a month ago, I would have predicted
he seemed like a transfer candidate.
Jacobe Lane was going to transfer. There was no question in my mind. I thought Deuce Robinson would stay and Jacobe Lane would leave. And obviously that got flipped around, and obviously there's still the possibility of guys leaving, but I think that Jacobe Lane has proven in this game that he should stay, because there is no reason that he can't be wide receiver number one,
right?
Unless it's Mekhi Lemon being wide receiver number one, and at that point it's the slot number one and then the outside number one. Like Jacobe Lane can be that dude in this offense. It just depends on obviously what goes into keeping guys around and not. But like if it came, there've been a lot of conversations, right, about where USC was investing their money in terms of player retention. And the accusations have been that certain players didn't get the, retention figures that they would have expected to get. If you're watching this game and you're asking, did USC make the right decisions about which of each of these archetypal players to keep, obviously taking Ford out of it, like, can you say they were wrong?
That's if you look at the transfer portal as a one-sided team option thing, which it's not. But I hear you. Yeah, I think here's a question for you, trivia question. I hate. It's probably going to give it away that I'm asking this means that there's going to be some crazy answer. Just ignore that could be the case. Alicia, who was the last Trojan to have more touchdown catches in a single season than Jacobe Lane did this season?
We had 3 tonight.
I just looked this up, and I'm utterly stunned that this is the case.
He probably had like 5 through the season, so I'm guessing he had like 8 or 9 on the year. Is it like Deontay Burnett or something like that?
No. It's Marquise Lee.
All right. It goes back that damn far? Jesus.
2012, Biletnikoff Marquise Lee had 14 touchdown catches. That is the last time somebody had more than Jacobe Lane, who just finished the season with 12.
Oh, he had 9 on the season. Deuce had 5.
That's the crazy thing. So he had how many catches tonight?
Well, Brendan Rice had 12.
Yes, but I'm saying more. And Nelson Aguilar had 12 in 2014. You look at this. Lane had 7 catches. He had 36 coming in. 36 minus 3 is 33. Plus 10 is 43. 43 catches. What's 12 divided by 43? 27.9% of his receptions are touchdowns. That's insane. That's the percentage a tight end red zone specialist has. And he's a receiver.
See, and how many of those touchdowns, I would ask, were end zone fades? I would say the majority of them weren't those kinds of end zone fades.
So a lot of them were like slants and back shoulder.
Frustrating that USC kept trying to force those to guys, but like Jacobe Lane is more than just a big-bodied end zone fade kind of guy.
Yeah.
He got open in the middle of the field, and he was shaking off guys. He had that nice underneath route that he took for a touchdown. Like, he can do so much more than just those jump balls.
Yeah.
So it was nice to see him sort of showing off that kind of ability. But yeah, he has a nose for the end zone, and that kind of player is important. You liken it in, I know you guys don't want us to talk about soccer, but the most important players on a soccer field, there are all sorts of things that go into winning at that game, but like having a goal scorer makes a huge difference. So in football, having a really good quarterback makes a huge difference. But your guys who can find the end zone, whether they're running backs or receivers or tight ends, not everybody has that. Whether it's luck or skill or just feel, not everyone has that. And when a guy does, which Jacobe Lane clearly does, because he was not targeted that much this season and still came away with that many touchdowns, it's crazy. It's very impressive.
It obviously doesn't work this way, but 43 catches. If you double his number of catches, and 86 is the sort of the amount that you'd expect from a number one go-to receiver. He'd be on pace for 24 touchdowns in a season. That would shatter records, but obviously it doesn't work that way.
And it's notable that USC didn't even have a receiver coming into this game. Obviously, the stats that we're looking at don't include Mekhi Lemon's 6, but like nobody going in the regular season, nobody had more than 50 receptions.
Yeah.
And sometimes that can be a really good thing. That means that you have a lot of guys that are contributing. But the more I think about it, and the more the evidence from this game suggests, there was too much spreading around of the ball. There was too much of trying to have everybody eat, and it probably limited what everybody else was doing in a way that we didn't necessarily anticipate. What I want, I don't know if I can find this information. I wish Stat Broadcast had season-long information, but targets. When was the last time USC had 3 players who had 9 or more targets in a game?
I mean, maybe you can figure out the game in which Slovis threw the ball 55 times.
Yeah.
Maybe that one. Yeah. It's crazy. It's a crazy thing that those numbers can get to. But
hey,
got a couple super chats. Want to get to these? Irvine Cattle Ranch. Big ups.
Cheers.
Bringing the beef. Couldn't have made it through this season without you folks. Thank you, and fight on. Beat the Bears. Yeah, beat the Bears because SC plays the Missouri State Bears next season.
FBS, Mr.
Yeah,
Missouri
the
State Bears.
FBS, Mo State.
Yes.
Mo State.
Yes.
Do they say Mo State?
I hope so.
Mo State is cool.
Mo State's cool.
Yeah, like where did you go to school? Mo State.
Mo State.
Like that's pretty sick.
Yeah.
Pretty sick. As the kids would say, I would think. Let's get another one from William. Looking ahead, considering what we have gained and lost to date, what 3 positions in order of importance do we need an impact player from the portal? Merry Christmas and Happy New Year with the super chat. Thank you.
Merry Christmas, Happy New Year.
Merry
Fight
Christmas.
on.
Happy. I'm making Happy
Christmas is your thing. Yes.
Happy Christmas. The Brits did it right. Brits. One of the things the Brits got right. Their use of peas, wrong. Their use of happy instead of merry in front of Christmas, correct. Anyways, question? You got an answer?
Well, first I want to say, I was texting with William during this game, and he offered to come on and spend no less than 2 hours discussing the issues in this game. So, a super chat is just a fraction of the thoughts that I know that he has. Order of importance for me is, I had a list at one point. Hold on. Well, they've already taken care of the defensive, the beef on the inside. So,
yeah.
Well, not that they've totally taken care of that, but like they've added it. So that's
a lot of
not
dudes
number
are coming
one.
Defensively.
I would say my number one concern at this point, if I'm allowed to put quarterback to the side, because I just genuinely do not think that that's in the plan. I would say that USC needs to identify a starting level, or at least rotation level veteran linebacker. Because as much as I love Eric Gentry and I'm really excited about Desmond Stevens, I do not trust Eric Gentry to be healthy all season. Mm-hmm. You need another linebacker. Yeah. I would say that's number one. Number two, I would say is again, as much as I like Braylon Shelby and Cameron Fountain, I think number two would be for me a true impact defensive end, or as edge, a true impact edge. Yeah, because that is just something that USC has been missing. They need that guy. I would like to see Fountain and Shelby become that guy, but I'm not going to bank on it.
Dumb question, really quick.
Yes.
Is there a world in which Gentry gets made into an edge guy?
That's always been the discussion. I think that was a discussion going back to when he came.
Like, could the edge, Gentry at edge, would that be better or worse for him health-wise? You know that concussions are an issue, obviously.
Yeah.
But, like, if you're on the edge, you got to go up against tackles all the time, and you're, like, does that make you more likely to get a concussion or less because you're not hitting dudes as viciously as a linebacker would?
Also, does that neutralize some of what makes him dangerous in the middle of the field? As a guy who makes it more difficult to pass over that linebacker there. Yeah, treating him just as I suspect that if that was a possibility, that would have already been done. Yeah, for
more
him.
So, like you talk about Danton Lynn's defense. Yeah, and we're like, well, he needs his Latu, right? I think Gentry could be an impactful guy like Latu. Doesn't mean that he has to play the exact same position.
Right.
But, that's just a thought.
I mean, I don't mind. I certainly would not mind a role for him where he is at the line of scrimmage, making plays, behind in the backfield. I think that's absolutely what he could certainly thrive in that role, I think. But it's still a question.
Yeah.
I think
TAC in the chat says subconcussive hits are a problem for linemen. Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. But like,
yeah,
I also thought that might be more so for interior linemen than edge guys. But either way, yeah.
I tend to agree with Brian's assessment too, and Tom I think is sort of making the same case that he doesn't have the size to hold the edge as like he would be a third down pass rushing defensive end.
Size doesn't necessarily matter if you want it hard enough.
But I don't know that he could. I don't know that you could have him in there on first or second in that specific role and expect him to not get bowled over by a tackle or whatever. But third on my list would be a wide receiver. I really like Xavier Jordan. Mm-hmm. I would like to see him get some run. It's just we haven't really seen him. There is a lot of chatter that Tanook Hines is going to be a star. I just don't like relying on freshmen. I just don't like doing it. So I would look for a wide receiver. I am looking currently at my depth chart. I'm tracking the depth chart as transfer season goes on. Mm-hmm. And I had started with a bunch of red boxes for a bunch of the areas that I felt like USC needed to go in and get transfers. And, at number one was at corner. DJ Harvey's now there. My two interior defensive linemen, you got Keyshawn Silver and Jamal Jarrett. Yeah. So the remaining red boxes that I have pretty much answer this question. A linebacker, a wide receiver, and an outside linebacker, and then a backup quarterback, which is there. TAC in the chat says not right tackle. My ideal would be for Justin Taonu to be ready for that role. And I don't know if that will be the case, but he came in this game at left tackle and he did an okay job. Yeah. I'd have to watch back to say for certain. Mm-hmm. Here's my thing. I have now seen enough transfer offensive line sort of data and sort of not just data, but like what's it called when you sort of just like see it and it's that sort of understanding that you have from just stuff you've seen. I don't trust transfer
anecdotal data.
Anecdotal experience. Yeah. I don't trust offensive line transfers. I do not trust them unless you're getting them young, unless they're Emmanuel Pregnon, where you're bringing them in and they've got 3 years of eligibility and you don't need them in year one. Mm-hmm.
You don't need to bank on them.
I do not know that there is a starting tackle who can plug and play immediately, or that there might be, but I do not want to add that person and expect them to plug and play immediately. So I'm not necessarily going to bank on that. I would love some offensive linemen just for depth, if nothing else. But that's not my top three. My top three are: you need a starting linebacker, you need an impact edge, and you need an impact wide receiver as a bit of sort of insurance against Xavier Jordan or Tanook Hines or one of the other guys not quite being ready to be impact, because you saw what Jacobe Lane and Mekhi Lemon can do. You still need additional guys, and you can't just run your offense around those two guys, even though it would be, I think they do a good job, but you still need some more guys in there.
Yeah. Another super chat from Cam. What a ride.
Hey.
Says Cam. Thanks for another great year of Entertainment Radio, Las Vegas Bowl champs. Can't take that away. No, you can't. You can't. And SRS Distribution Las Vegas Bowl champs. That's what SC is. Do you know what SRS Distribution does? No. Did I see a million of their commercials? Yes. Do I have any more idea what the hell they do? No.
Something about roofs and pool supplies?
This is the thing that I thought was stupid. Their ad, they're like, we support our troops and we give back to society and we take care, we do this and we do that, we do this thing and we. Nothing they said was what they do as a business. And then there's one quick shot of their logo, and underneath it, it's like roofing, pool supplies, and something. It's like, oh, okay, sure.
I don't know what bowl sponsors. It's such a weird.
Bring back Bad Boy Mowers, or are they still back? I don't know. Well, either way.
Guaranteed rate, which is now just rate, which makes the rate bowl just really
less guaranteed,
boring. Yeah, they can't take us from us, but yeah, thank you very much. As Danny says in the chat, they provide innovative solutions.
You know what this reminds me of? When I was a kid, there was commercials for BNSF, and it is burned into my brain. This lady's voice saying, "We don't make a lot of the things that you use. We make them better." And so as a kid, like, I'm like, I don't know, what is BNSF? Like, are they like, is it like metal? Is it like, do they make the metal stronger? Are they maybe a glue company? Are they, I don't know. What are, and isn't BNSF a railroad? Am I crazy? What is BNSF? BNSF. Yeah, railroad.
Okay.
First of all, why is a railroad company putting out commercials?
I don't. Again, it's these B2B businesses that are like, to be fair, there are a lot of people in this world who work for businesses that do business with B2B businesses. So, like, I am not the target audience. It just is weird that they sponsor a bowl game.
Okay.
I'm sorry for not, not talking about the football game.
TAC in the chat says BASF. Yes, you're right. It is BASF, not BNSF. BASF, which is a
raw materials company, according to Johnny.
Multinational, chemical producer.
Which tells us so much.
That really narrows it down. Yeah. It took me 30 years to know what Affleck is. Well, I made a very good Affleck joke yesterday in the wild. No, at your family's Christmas.
That's true, at my family's Christmas.
And no one respected it. And I didn't even get a chuckle from anybody. You were talking about something about missing work, and I said, well, if you get Affleck, it won't hurt the miss work.
It won't hurt.
What's the stupid Yogi Berra line?
It won't.
If you get hurt and miss work, it won't hurt
It won't
the miss
hurt
work.
to miss work. Yeah, there it is.
There you go.
Yeah.
It's all crazy. Either way, I think when you look at it, now's the time. A lot of people are missing work because it's the holidays. You know how I like celebrating the holidays, Alicia?
How do you like celebrating the holidays, Michael?
Feeling like an underdog and going to Underdog Fantasy. Over 5 million fans in America are already playing Underdog Fantasy across 33 states, including California. They have all the top leagues, the teams, the stars to choose from, your favorite USC football players, to Trojans in the NFL and the NBA. This week, going into the Vegas Bowl, Mekhi Lemon, his stat projection was, I think, 12.5, 12.1, something like that. Fantasy points, I took the higher on Mekhi Lemon, and by God, he got it in that last drive. Put me over the 12.1, whatever it was. Got me the higher on his stat projection, which is great. I felt so good about it. You can go over to Underdog Fantasy. It's the best place to make picks. Get your picks higher or lower. The playoff is coming up. Saturday and Sunday, there's NFL games. There's Prem games. It's the festive period, as they say in the UK. That was a terrible accent, I know. But a lot of games going on. You can say how higher or lower Cole Palmer shot attempts. Or actually, Noni Madueke shot attempts. You definitely take the higher, certainly, along with misses. But that's beside the point. Underdog Fantasy. Check it out. Download the app today. Use the code RAINOFTROY to get up to $1,000 in bonus cash instantly. Every player, every touchdown, select higher or lower on Underdog. So download the app and use the code RAINOFTROY to get up to $1,000 in bonus cash instantly. It is my favorite daily fantasy app. Must be 18 plus, 19 plus in Alabama and Nebraska, 19 plus in Colorado for some games, 21 plus in Massachusetts and Arizona, and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Void in Colorado. Concerned with your play, call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit ncpgambling.org. In Arizona, call 1-800-NEXT-STEP or text NEXT STEP to 53342. In New York, call the 24/7 HOPE line at 1-8778-HOPE-NY. Text HOPE-NY to 467-369.
Can I say something?
What?
Before we get to the super chats.
Okay.
Because you've been doing this ad read beautifully all season, and I don't know how much longer that ad read will be active. I mean, it could be active for a long time, but every time you finish that ad read with the, call Hope NY, 877, blah, blah, I feel like I'm supposed to jump in and do the last 4 digits with you and say, suck it, what's Spoon Show.
Let's try it. In New York, call the 24/7 HOPE line at 1-877-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY to 467-369.
Okay, I didn't know the numbers, though. 467-369. Okay, try it again.
Or text HOPE-NY to 467-369.
Suck it, what's Spoon Show. No?
I'm not sure we should read that with a legal disclaimer and throw it in there, but
That's true, yes. But we have super chats to get to.
Super chats! Let's get to the super chats. What do we get? Alton V.
Hey.
I like to hope that Alton V. I'm going to pretend it's Alton Brown. That's Alton Brown.
Alton V. Brown?
Yeah, I think it literally is. As a USC fan, never found a good USC pod to listen to until the YouTube algorithm recommended both of you this season. Been a fan since, love the content.
Hey.
We love that.
Glad to hear it.
What a new
That's
rock
awesome.
bot from Alton. That's definitely Alton Brown. 100%, because Alton Brown would know the science of an algorithm.
Yes.
Yeah, 100%.
Thank you, Alton. We appreciate that very much.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a terrible season for you to find us, but maybe that's maybe that's what made us stick. Because
therapy. Yeah. Next one comes from Jixer Squid.
Hey.
Cheers. Super chat. Thank you. From an academic credit perspective, is it harder to accept a transfer player into SC from the SEC, ACC, or somewhere else?
I don't know that it's harder specific to the conference. I would wager that different schools present different hurdles that need to be cleared depending on what kind of university credit they were getting, what kind of classes they were taking, what whether or not they were completing their classes, all of that kind of stuff. I think that's the bigger issue from just individual institutions. But I don't think that has anything to do with like the conferences in terms of harder or easier or anything like that.
Yeah.
I mean, as William in the chat says, like it's all sort of the same. Like, USC will do what they need to do to move those things around, and like, places like Stanford have other things on top of that complicate their lives.
Yeah.
And USC and Notre Dame and Vanderbilt have always talked about how like their academic standards are higher or whatever, but when it comes to accepting athletes, those academic standards are not really the barrier unless you're a high school kid who hasn't like completed coursework,
Alicia, or if you have a parent who was in a sitcom decades ago, I think it helps.
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
I think
you
it
can
helps.
Fake that you're an athlete and then get in.
I think that surely would help.
Yeah.
I think the other thing is, and this is not a knock on SC because every school does this. I mean, I guess save for Stanford and Notre Dame will say that they don't do this, but they surely do too.
Yeah.
These schools bring in a lot of kids who didn't come to play school.
Yes. Yeah. There are ways to.
When I was at SC, I had classmates who were athletes, and some of them I I'm not trying to be mean here. I'm not naming names.
They were not there to play school.
Not there to play school. And I wouldn't be either, by the way. If I had to focus on being an athlete and doing all the stuff that, like, have you ever heard the Europeans talk about, like, this college football? You know that the students at university, they don't get paid. Like, you know, like,
well, now they do.
Yes, but it's weird. It really is weird that we have these kids that need the academic, like, aside from, like, obviously that's what college football is, but, like, if you looked at it from a completely objective point of view where you didn't know what college football is, it's weird. But
hey, I think one of the actually good ideas that Lynn Swan had was the idea of having like an athletics major, which would be your major is to pursue a career in athletics. And so instead of like being a business major and getting into commercial real estate, which was worked out for many USC football players or athletes, that they would have a major that is sort of geared around teaching you the skills that you would need to go into a career in athletics, whether that is playing professionally or doing like many athletes do after they can no longer or play professionally, is getting into media, getting into, you know, all sorts of other business kind of endeavors around athletics. So, I've always thought that was a good idea, but I also, I
was just thinking about it. I could have gotten into Stanford.
Good.
If I was an athlete and good at sports.
I mean,
I just thought, like, I'm Stanford's, it's put in the chat about, you know, Stanford's as a little bit of extra requirements that they want a little bit higher than the NCAA clearinghouse, which is sort of the baseline. Yes, but also, like, I'm like a B student. Stanford would have been fine with a B student. You know what I mean? Yeah.
All right, but enough about the school. We're here to talk about the football.
The pigskin.
Yeah.
SC wins 35-31. We got a question from Daniel Rose. I tagged this earlier. Wanted to get back to it. Does this win satisfy the season for anyone? Leave hopeful for next year, or just feel a little empty-handed with what could have been?
Does it satisfy the season? No, it doesn't. It was more of the same in all of the bad ways and all of the good ways. So it was sort of, it didn't satisfy the season. It just sort of reinforced the season for me. That this is a team that has a lot of players who are capable of playing really good football. This is a team that doesn't give up, that is in every game that they play, and could have just let the wheels fall off of this season, and ultimately they didn't. So I appreciate the level of grit and fight that this team has shown, in a way that does leave me semi-hopeful, because you go into next year and there is still the possibility. I'm not necessarily, if I had to like put percentages on it, I don't know that I would even go that it would be a probability, but there still feels like there's like a 35% chance in my mind that this team comes back next season with this same grit and determination and, never say die attitude, and actually starts to put it together to a point where they don't have to lose games because they're always in games. The fact of the matter is that this team played Penn State and Notre Dame better than just about anybody has played them all season, bar Ohio State beating Penn State.
Yeah.
And Northern Illinois pulling off a weird miracle against Notre Dame. But USC gave Notre Dame one of their toughest games of the season. USC gave Penn State one of their toughest games of the season. USC gave Michigan a really, really tough game. If this team didn't have something to it, whether it's talent or at least the hint of the right attitude, they would not have been in those games. They would not have been capable of having so many games where they were there. They were in it. They were capable of winning it. And unfortunately, the only times they really did that were, aside from Nebraska and UCLA, which are games USC should have won anyways, the only times they managed to pull it off was LSU and Texas A&M, which is impressive in its own right. Like, these, as much as we dog the SEC for like being trumped up about themselves, those are still good SEC teams. Like, they're not bad SEC teams. These are competitive teams that USC went out on a neutral field and beat. Mm-hmm. And the teams that USC even lost to, they shouldn't have lost to Maryland or Minnesota or Washington, but
yeah,
that's just what happens when you end up in these dogfights every time and you aren't able to finish. But to me, this team proved that they are capable of being up there with all of those teams, more or less, that are in the playoff. USC they don't get played off the field by these teams. So there's something about them that is hopeful. Do I think that this team has what it takes to string it all together under this coaching staff in the program currently as it is, and do that on the consistent basis and in the right moments to then be in a position where they win more of these games than they lose?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know about that. I think Lincoln Riley has done a lot to undermine my faith in him this season. There's been a lot of other things just around the program that have undermined my faith in it. So I wouldn't say, to be long-winded, like, I wouldn't say that I leave hopeful for next year, or at least more hopeful than pessimistic for next year. But I do still have that sense of there is a chance they turn this on. Like, there is the possibility of that still is there. And if USC had lost this game in a different way and just sort of given up, my certainty that exists would be significantly lower.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think you would feel good about this team if this was a sport that didn't get the score kept.
Yeah.
If this was, score was kept at T-ball, and I certainly kept score mentally, and I was going to, go spikes into second base in T-ball because I was that annoying child. But if this was like, 5-year-old Pee-wee football and they didn't keep score, I think you would feel so much better about this team, because as annoying as it is, as annoying as the X amount of plays from, being 12-1, I guess, because SC was a little bit more than that against Notre Dame, but even then they had a chance to tie the game in the fourth quarter against a team that looks like they might be one of the best teams in the country, a team that legitimately has a chance to go win a national championship, right? So, yes, I think it is beneficial to looking forward to know that SC can play with anybody. And that should make you feel better about next season, because the season is an easier slate. Yes, you have to play at Oregon. Yes, you have to play at Notre Dame. Those might be the two toughest road games in the country that anyone has to play, except that Georgia, I guess. Whatever. But other than those two, everything else is very manageable. The problem is that you lose that benefit of the doubt when you lose to Maryland. When you lose,
it all comes back to freaking Maryland.
To Minnesota in a game like Minnesota and Washington, like, in a vacuum, are not embarrassing losses. Those are not like bad teams. They're not Maryland, right? But you can't lose to those teams when you also lose to Maryland and you also don't finish off against Penn State and against, every other Michigan. Like, you can't do all those things at the same time. And then you have no benefit of the doubt. And so then you go into a season where SC was 8-5 last year, 7-6 this year. They were 11-3 the year before. Their record has gotten worse in every season under Lincoln Riley. And for all the things that you could feel good about, you can feel bad about just as many things. Mm-hmm. And that is a middle ground that I think is torture as a fan to deal with. But I think it gets a little bit sweeter knowing that SC won today. Even though bowl games mean literally nothing now. Literally nothing. I think there's a weird sweet spot, and correct me if I'm wrong. If you don't agree with this, Alicia, or if you don't agree in the chat, please correct me if I'm wrong. I think bowl games now are in this weird spot where, like, they're almost all house money. If you lose, well, you can play the Alabama getting beat by Utah in the Sugar Bowl card. Oh, we didn't want it anyways. Like, we weren't there to play. Like, whatever. It was just a bowl game. Well, we didn't have all these receivers. We didn't have all these players. Blah blah. If you win it, you're like, you know what? They showed some character. You can lie to yourself.
Right. No, but I don't think it's wrong. I think that there is a lot of excuse making for when you lose a bowl game.
Yeah.
Because you can say, oh, it didn't matter. But frankly, from a fan perspective, every single game matters.
For sure.
If you're putting on that uniform, you should want to win. Like, I want players who have competitive spirit enough to go into every game that they play and say, it doesn't matter that this is an exhibition game. I still hate to lose so much that I insist upon winning. Mm-hmm. It's like us playing frickin', we play the EAFC video game and they have this multiplayer mode that we play with our friends. And realistically, you get the experience points that you need to get the unlock the things that you want to do by simply playing the game. It doesn't matter if you win.
Yeah.
And yet, the four of us will be on party chat, refusing to stop playing if we are in a losing streak. None of us will go to sleep until we have ended on a win. Like, that is the kind of competitive spirit that I want to see from players, even in a bowl game. So it does matter to me that the game is 24-7. It's in the third quarter. And by all rights, USC should be in a position to say, well, season's done. Like, well, that was that. No, whatever. So much, it's just a bowl game. We don't care anyways. And they didn't, and they went out and found a way to score. And maybe it was that Texas A&M, in the second half got complacent or whatever. But like Texas A&M went out and tried. You can't tell me Marcel Reed didn't want to win that game.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, it was, again, another example of, do you have a winning mentality? Do you have a competitive spirit? Mm-hmm. And if you just, I understand how it happens, but I do think less of teams that go into a bowl game and lay an egg.
No, for sure. I agree.
Not because, if you're Indiana and you get beat by Notre Dame because Notre Dame's just straight up better than you, that's one thing. But USC, Texas A&M come into this game more or less a push. They both had opt-outs. Pride is the only thing at stake. Mm-hmm. And I like that USC won the game for pride, I think that's good. That can't be bad.
No, it can't be bad. You're right. I guess more what I'm speaking to is like, you lay an egg against UCLA last year in a season that had gone to hell. You lay an egg against UCLA, it still riles you up, right?
Yeah.
You throw away the Maryland game, you're distraught for a week, right? Until the next game.
Yeah.
If SC loses this game where it's 24-7 and Texas A&M goes on to win it, and it's 34-10, whatever it is, you're not going to be distraught for a week. I guess that's what I'm saying about the bowl games are not.
Yeah, no, it's not going to make you distraught. I
Yes.
just don't think it's entirely meaningless. Like,
No,
I don't
agree.
think it's
Yes.
entirely meaningful.
They're not meaningless.
I'm not saying that these games are meaningful.
That's a good way.
But
of
they're not meaningless. Like that's
fair.
sort of where I'm at. So
I think that's fair. The other thing, talking about Texas A&M, this is where I feel bad about Texas A&M here. Reign of Reveille would just be beside itself here.
Yeah.
Usually when a team loses a game inexplicably, there's like a trail. There's crumbs all over the place of dumb moments, dumb plays. Off the dome, just straight up off the
I have
cuff.
one though. I know you're trying to make a point.
I don't know that I have a point. I'm just saying that, like, aside from the roughing the punter.
Oh yeah, that was bad.
Like, all the dumb plays and the dumb moments in this game were SC doing them.
Well, I'm sure that A&M people would find different dumb moments.
Sure.
I think the dumb moment was soft coverage on a slant in the end, like at the end zone. Like,
sure.
You should, if USC lost a game because the opposing team scored by throwing that slant, I would be apoplectic. Like, I would be like, what the hell are you doing as a defense? And yeah, USC has, lost games having those kinds of, like, what was even the point of having defensive players out there?
Yeah.
But I think Texas A&M fans would look at you and say, like, the fact that Texas A&M took that timeout down by the goal line when USC was needing to get up to the line and go quick and all of that. Like, I think they would be furious about that.
But was that the arm punts on the go ball from first?
No. I mean, Jaden Maiava had a monopoly on just boneheaded, stupid, game-losing plays in this game. It is incredible that he came out and scored 4. He scored 3 touchdowns in the last 19 minutes of this game. Like, compared to what he'd done for the previous rest of the game, it's just like, again, it was crazy. But
Marcel Reed's 2 interceptions. One of them is an insane play from Kamari Ramsey.
Kamari Ramsey. The other one is a
goes
receiver.
Off his receiver's
it's rough. It's certainly rough. But
that's how the cookie crumbles.
That is how it goes,
as they say.
Yeah, and USC's had some bad luck at the end of games going.
It had to go the other way at some point. Yeah. All right. Another super chat. A couple of these. Raul. Thank you guys. Appreciate you guys. Fight on. We appreciate you, Raul. Thank you.
People coming through with the super chats today.
Yeah.
Dang.
Yeah. And as YouTube says, let's celebrate their first super on a live stream. Well, congratulations for your first super.
Welcome, Raul.
Diving in the deep end, no longer a super chat virgin. Yeah. We love that for you. We love that for you. Lamont has been here a few times.
Hey.
We love Lamont. It's been 5 years since we met Lamont. Isn't that crazy?
5 years?
5 years, yeah.
Jesus. You told me to pull up the Rant of Troy podcast feed while we were driving to dinner tonight, and I had a moment of like, Jesus, when I was looking at the reviews, and down at the bottom it had like the date that the channel started, the podcast started. It was 2012, and I just like, that was not just 10 years ago. That was 12 years ago. We've been doing this for like 11 seasons.
Okay. I'm sorry. This is insane, and I'm sorry, Lamont. We're gonna get to your super chat in a second. I don't mean to do this, but this is just how my brain works. The tisming here. Watching this this TikTok where they were doing this like this bit about if Bill Simmons had a podcast during 9/11, what it would sound like.
What?
It was weird.
Yeah,
but
I gotcha.
Like, there was a moment where they were talking about how it had been 8 years since a terrorist had done an attack at the World Trade Center, because the 1993 terrorist attack at the World Trade Center, and my brain went to 8 years. So that means that if 9/11 was today. It happened in 2016. And in my warped brain, because I you and I born in 1989, we were 12 when 9/11 happened. The 93 attack, like before our memory was really forming, right? Like,
yeah,
that seems like unconscionably long ago, and it was 2016 to us. That's nuts. Weird. All right, weird.
Yeah,
I know.
Weird.
Okay, Lamont says, I'm happy with this season because tomorrow will be, there will be no USC football until next August. I love USC football no matter what. Yeah.
Yeah.
We talk about this all the time. When it is May 3rd and you're sitting there and you're a Angels fan and the Angels are already 12 games out of first place, and you're like, damn, I could really go for some mediocre USC football right now.
Thanks for going for the jugular there.
I didn't want to use the Cubs as an example. And with Lamont, he's from Atlanta, right? So like the Braves wouldn't have worked because the Braves were just always good. But you know what I mean? Like you got a hankering for like, give me that mediocre. God, what I would do to watch SC call a timeout to kick a field goal with 18 seconds left instead of 2 seconds left to give Texas A&M an improbable but a chance right before the half. God,
can I talk about two things? We cannot close out this Carcast until I have the ability to talk about these two things. We've talked a lot about some optimism. We've had a lot of optimism in this episode. I'm feeling more optimistic about life to a certain point about USC. I actually think this is a case of optimistic, Alicia. But I will say, the things that are pessimisming me. How is it? Okay, anyone who's been listening to this podcast this season or beyond knows that my general consensus feeling about clock management, time management, etc., is that the vast majority of coaches are terrible at it. Like, very, very few do it well. Like, the majority are just, like, mediocre at it, if not, like, terrible at it. They're just a rare breed that knows exactly how to do it perfectly. There's just too much going on in games. Coaches really should have a time, like a dedicated coach who deals with the analytics of like, when do you call timeout? When do you spike it? When do you, like, all that kind of stuff? You should outsource it. Mm-hmm. So like, I tend not to get as irate about time management stuff as others because I just chalk it off to like, yeah, everybody's bad at it.
Yeah.
So take it for as intense as I am making this out to be. It is absurd that it is December 28th. And USC has had multiple occasions already this season, end of half, end of game, time management catastrophes. 13th game of the season, still time management catastrophes.
Yeah.
On top of that, 13th game of the season, the entire season from 1 to 13, every single game has featured the same late substitution on offense. Opposing defense takes their time getting their subs out, and the clock winds down, and USC has to take a penalty, use a timeout, all this kind of stuff.
Hey, A&M had one of those tonight.
13 weeks, 13 weekends, 13 Saturdays, whatever, of this. And you're still here at the end of game number 13 in a position to win the game at the goal line. And it happens again. It is truly absurd. It is extremely frustrating. And I don't understand. Like, I get that it's hard, but also if it is that hard, outsource it if you can't do it, because clearly you can't do it. Also, stop freaking subbing with less than 15 seconds on the clock. Just you cannot sub. Go to plan B.
Strategic advantage, though. So, okay, let's talk about the clock management before the half. I understand. It's not what I would have done, per se. but I understand the logic. And not that they were necessarily trying to do this, but like I understand running out the clock to the 30-second mark before that 3rd and 6 or whatever it was, right? I can understand that. When I'm playing the video game, I do that because I want to ideally score with as little time as left, and you don't want to give them anything.
If you don't get the 3rd down conversion, you don't want to give them a minute on that clock.
Yes, I understand having that idea. I can understand it, but you take the timeout, so now you have 3rd and 6. Again, maybe you don't agree with that. That's fine. But the logic is understandable, right? But when you don't get the conversion on 3rd and 6, and now you have 4th and a half yard, 4th and 1, we'll just whatever, under 1, 4th and short.
Mm-hmm.
You have 3 options. You can take a timeout immediately because you would like to go for it on 4th down. You can do nothing and
run it down to 3 seconds.
Take your timeout then, and then kick the field goal as time expires. Or you can do that same option and just let Texas A&M burn one of their timeouts instead, right? Because they had timeouts.
Mm-hmm.
None of those options include, we're going to let the clock run, and then we're going to call a timeout, but with 12 seconds, then it got bumped up to 18. Like, it didn't make any sense at all. Like, at all. I'm struggling to come up with any sort of logic.
The only thing I was able to think of is that I think Riley thought that he got the first down.
And that you think that he thought the clock stopped?
I think he thought that they got the first down and that the clock had stopped and that they had more time to get up to the line of scrimmage and do more.
Okay. If that's the case.
But he shouldn't assume.
If that's the case, it shouldn't take that long for somebody to have known that. And at that point, then again, then it's been made for you. Well, at that point, you got to wait until 3 seconds to call the timeout.
Yeah.
Or you call the timeout and go for it.
Yeah. Don't be.
You don't call a timeout with 18 seconds to go and kick.
Or as Danny says, you can do an Eberflus and just do nothing and let the clock run out and don't attempt anything.
Yeah.
Which would have had the same results as USC kicking that field goal and missing it. So, it's
Alicia, we don't have a screen for this.
Hey.
Whoa, wrong button. I'm not going to hit it 20 times.
It's not a super chat, but Scurry
It's our buddy Steve in the Bay Area.
Oh, it's Steve in the Bay Area. Okay, sorry. Rot Supporters Club for 20 months. Look at that.
20 months. Wow.
I don't know how that popped up, but congratulations. That's awesome. That's a long time.
We love you. Thanks for all the skeets, as they say, over on Blue Sky.
Yeah. As they say, skeets.
As they say.
Yeah. Okay, sorry.
Can now that we're talking about Steve in the Bay Area, can we talk about my favorite thing about Steve in the Bay Area?
What?
I think there was one time where on the pod, I said, our friend, our pal, our guy, or whatever it was, Steve in the Bay Area, whatever. And so because of that, when he plays over under, he will put in his name. He's Steve in New Zealand, he says now. Steve in the Bay Area into the Google form to play our over under game, right? And every single week it is phrased differently. And it cracks me up because that's what I would do. And this is why we go through and like people do this all the time. Like, oh, I'm Bill from London, and the next day I'm Bill in London or whatever, right?
Yeah, they don't remember exactly
that sort of thing, which is the only reason that we keep people's emails from the previous week is so that way we can go there and make sure that everything
correspond that
is
the
matched
votes
up.
Are. Yeah.
But I wish I mean, I guess I could go on a week by week thing and see like our buddy Steve in the Bay Area, our guy Steve in the Bay Area, our buddy Steve from the Bay, like all those possible options.
So our guys
check them all off.
Our guy Steve in NZ, our guy Steve in New Zealand, our guy Steve in Kiwis. Yeah.
Kiwi Steve would be good.
Steve is a great guy. You know who else is a great guy, Michael? Brian Jackson.
Hold on.
He's freaking awesome, dude.
Yeah. What like that was a really I have to admit, I came into this game thinking like, I don't know, I mean Woody Marks is freaking incredible. I don't know that either of these guys, Brian Jackson or Marion Peterson, are going to be able to like carry the load the way that Woody Marks did. And Brian Jackson is a very different running back than Woody Marks, but he proved in this game that he really is a hell of a player. And we talked about this a little bit earlier, but I just wanted to say, like, I think that when you go into next season, you can start dreaming a little bit of some thunder and lightning situation. I mean, it lends itself to that because of the 21 thing, but like thunder and lightning with the transfer running back Eli Sanders, who's a sort of explosive speed guy, like that's going to be really fun, having seen what Brian Jackson could do as a true freshman in this game and in this season. So that was, I'm really happy to see that.
Yeah, great nickname opportunities. B-Jax and Colonel Sanders.
B. Jackson, Colonel Sanders.
I don't know. Like, how does that translate to thunder and lightning? I don't know, but you could figure it out some sort of way. Yeah. I thought he looked good. He runs very interestingly. His gait is very unique.
I think he like runs very forward. Like
he's a little forward.
It feels like he's just like running downhill. Like he's just like tilted
you
forward.
Know what it reminds me of? Like not specifically, but it reminds me of like, you ever watch old highlights? Like go watch Anthony Davis run. Nobody runs like that.
Sort of got that lean.
Like he just like, he's running like a cartoon character, kind of like legs, knees, arms pumping every which way. And
I just thought
it's always funny to me because like people don't run like that anymore.
Yeah,
like guys, you've watched OJ run, same thing. He'll also go across a few lanes and down a few interchanges, but you know what I mean. Like it's crazy. It's crazy. And Brian Jackson is fun because it's a unique sort of like
what I liked about him
and know who has.
What I liked about him is this season, you know, we've seen a little bit of him, and I was a little bit worried earlier in the season, and it might have just been like circumstances that he was maybe too prone to just sort of like doing something that I do in college football 25, where you just get the ball and then just sort of run forward and just like, I just got to move, go run. And then he just runs into blockers and then it just sort of like stops.
Yeah.
And he did that a couple times early in this game. And then he really started to get really comfortable. And I think what I enjoyed most is that it seemed like his vision started to really develop as the game went on. And you started to see him make that little shimmy, that little cut that let him burst right through the hole and pick up nice big chunks of yards. I thought Marion Peterson did that pretty well as well. But Brian Jackson in particular, just he looks like just a powerful runner who is going to be able to combine that power with the necessary vision and also just speed to hit the quickness to hit the hole in a way that you wouldn't necessarily guess for somebody that's, to me, figures more like a power back. So I'm excited to see more of him.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wait,
hey, from Thomas. Been following y'all since early last season. Appreciate the good vibes and takes. Also want to throw out the idea of doing a live tailgate plus pod next season. I think it would be cool to do a live watch along. I just got to figure out the logistics of it. I've thought about it. It would be cool. But a tailgate and live pod would be interesting. Like, are we talking about like at a game?
So we did a a tailgate this past season, the week before the season starts.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, this season, the week before the season started.
Yeah.
We did a tailgate at just a local park near us. And that was really fun. I mean, we had a bunch of people come out. It was a really good conversation. There was a lot of like optimism from me and pessimism from, was it Kyle who was the most pessimistic of?
Yeah, and our heartfelt condolences go out to Kyle, by the way. Indiana grad.
Oh yeah, rough time. But at least they gave him more than USC gave him this year. So
true. True.
So I thought that went really well. I think that's something that we want to do again in the future. Doing a live pod, whether that's the logistics of doing that for an actual tailgate for a USC game is very difficult for us at this stage in my work life and life and all that kind of stuff. So I doubt it would be like a live tailgate before a game, but we could maybe figure out a way to do a pod when we do a tailgate, like a preseason tailgate, and then record a live episode with folks. And yeah.
I think we should make it a thing where we do a road game every year where we just go and we did for the Washington game.
Mm-hmm.
We're thinking of Illinois next year because it's the same weekend that UCLA plays Northwestern. So we're thinking of going to Chicago with Jake from the Witchburn Show, and hanging out with him and doing a whole like SC UCLA weekender would be kind of cool. But if we did like a tailgate in Champaign, Urbana, would be kind of cool. Would be kind of cool for that. Fun. So maybe. Yeah. The other thing that Thomas said earlier in the pod when I was talking about going to Stanford, that I could get it as a B student. I could only ever get in if I was an athlete, because they would take a B student if they were an athlete. That's the only other way, right? Thomas says, Michael, go try to as a grad transfer to go to Stanford as a diver. A diver? That's the one you thought of? Have you seen the obese dive? We sink, buddy.
Hey, maybe they need some walk on offensive linemen or like rugby players or something like that.
Rugby? I couldn't rugby. Are you kidding me?
Interesting. What I was gonna say is,
do they have billiards?
We've talked about this in the past.
Do they have
about
a GeoGuessr team.
Yeah, you'd be on the GeoGuessr team. We've talked about this in the past that I've always thought it would be really fun to do like a post game at the stadium, the way that Arsenal Fan TV does it. Like, obviously not as
Who's
like
the troops.
What?
Who's troops?
Oh, and I mean, I wouldn't.
That's the only guy I can think of.
I wouldn't want to be. Yeah, I don't remember their names. I wouldn't want to be.
Robbie,
I certainly wouldn't want to be Arsenal Fan TV. If you know what we're talking about, you know. But if you don't worry about it. We would want to have like a reasoned conversation, but like we'd be out in front of the game. There would be like fans walking by. If people wanted to stop and like give their thoughts, that would be fun. But again, the logistics of doing that would be kind of weird. So we'll have to figure it out.
Yeah.
Also, we'd need to like overcome our weird awkwardness around
social anxiety.
People. Yeah.
We're very socially awkward, just like our dog.
All right. We have another. Hey.
Fight on MC. Hi, guys. I just like hearing the super chat horn. Fight on until next season. Thank you, Fighting on MC.
I think, I don't know, because I have a bad memory, but Fighting on MC might have been responsible for the most super chat horns.
Fighting on MC does not have the little thing that says celebrate their first super on a live show.
No, he's Fighting on MC has done a lot of super chats, even before the super chat horn.
Initials, MC, great initials.
MC, yeah.
We love that. We love that.
The Angry Trojan says, I'm clueless on the topic. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Arsenal Fan TV is renowned for being delusional. Like they're big delusional. So we don't want to be delusional.
Think of like anyone that has very strong opinions on like the P.
Yeah.
But then give them a British accent.
Yes.
Turn their volume up to max, like put the gain all the way up.
Yeah.
With crazy eyes wearing a kit that a little bit too tight, more than likely, with a scarf and a black jacket, and just adding obscenities.
Yeah,
and
it's a lot.
overreacting to literally everything. That's Arsenal Fan TV.
Yeah. We're not. Yeah.
All right. Last question before we wrap this up. Lamont says, question, I saw Longstreet in his number 4 jersey on the sideline tonight. Is there any other recruits on the sideline there in uniform? I need an explainer. How is that legal?
Okay, so
I understand that he can practice, but how is he on the field in a jersey?
Longstreet was practicing. He is allowed to He was allowed to practice with the team.
Yeah.
In the bowl practices leading up to the game.
Yes.
He's not allowed to play. Him being on the sideline in a jersey, because he was in street clothes and the jersey, I think it doesn't matter. Like, I don't think it I think you could just have anybody out there with their jersey on. Like, for instance,
So he doesn't count as a rostered player.
No, he's not a rostered player. Like, last year when Caleb sat out, he was on the sideline with his jersey over. Like, I know he was an active player. I mean, he was a player, but I just don't think that's something that's policed.
Are those guys not counting against?
It's just that they have
50-player traveling squad thing or whatever.
They have a jersey, and there's nothing prohibiting them from wearing said jersey on the sideline. Okay. I've been keeping a bunch of questions from the chat, so I'm gonna rapid fire these real quick so we don't forget them.
You've got mail.
Cameron asked, "Do you still think Jaden Maiava is still the guy?" No. Rama Murdy, what transfer portal quarterbacks are still available?
I don't
nobody
know.
of note.
That we can't name one off the top of our head. I think gives you the answer. The quality of guys still in there.
The most viable transfer portal quarterback would be somebody who enters the portal in the meantime.
Yeah.
Daniel Rose asks, oh no, we already got that one. Somebody asked, but I didn't get their name. What is your favorite win? Who is your favorite to win the college football playoffs? I'm rooting for anyone but Oregon. Same. Anybody but Oregon and Notre Dame. So my favorite is ASU. Screw it. I don't think they're going to win it, but that would be my favorite to win.
The highest ranked quarterback to not be committed is Walker White. A little close to Walter White. From Auburn. And then there's Matthew Sluka. Haas Haney? Hedgeny? I don't know how you would say that. Looks like a Czech name, maybe. I don't know. Usually the J's are Czechs. TCU guy?
Yeah, I don't know about any of those.
Yeah.
Who's your favorite to win? Well, okay, my favorite, who I think will win it, is Oregon. Who I want to win it is anybody but Oregon, Notre Dame.
I'm going to say something that's not going to make people happy.
Michael.
This isn't who I would prefer to win. Who would I prefer to win? Penn State, probably?
No.
Well, think of a better option.
ASU. Boise State.
Okay, no, you're right. Boise State. It's Boise State. Yes.
Yeah.
It's Boise State. Yes. You want ASU to win? No.
I mean, I would rather...
No, it is. It's Georgia. You want Georgia. Just go chalk. Georgia wins. Nothing changes.
Georgia wins. Texas wins. I wouldn't be mad. That's fine. I don't want Penn State to win because I have a long and storied history of calling James Franklin a fraud, and I just don't want that to be undercut.
Sure.
So, yeah.
Yeah. No, my take is I genuinely think this, and I've said this to people, and I don't know that this has gone well. I thoroughly think that this is the best Notre Dame team of my lifetime. And this is the first Notre Dame... Well, okay. Better put it this way. This is the first Notre Dame team I've ever seen in my life who I think genuinely has a chance at winning a national title. Because is the 2005 Notre Dame team as good as this one?
No.
Maybe, but that 2005 team was never in contention for a national championship, given how the season was, like given
That
the
defense wasn't
situation
as
that
good as this
they were
defense.
in and all that kind of stuff, right? Yeah. This Notre Dame team, way better than any of the playoff teams that Kelly had. Not even close.
Way better than 2012.
Yeah. Way better.
Yeah.
And so like the way I see it, I think there's only like 4 teams that can win. Oregon, Notre Dame, Georgia, and Ohio State.
You don't think Texas can win?
Sure. Those are going to be the 4 that could win.
Yeah.
Which is crazy. But that's where we are. That's where I think it is.
I have not looked at the spreads until this very moment, and I am shocked that Ohio State is a 2.5-point favorite over Oregon. That's
the Sharps love the Bucks.
Yeah. Okay. So hold on. We have a few more questions.
Yeah.
Tom in the chat said, "Who plays safety next to Ramsey next season?" All indications are that it's going to be Christian Pierce, but we don't know. You know, could be a transfer, could be anybody else. Lamont asked, "Did I hear correctly that Zachariah Branch is looking to transfer to Georgia? If he he better get all the NIL he can because his career will be really short, too small for the SEC every week." Yeah, he took a visit to Georgia. I think he and Zion took a visit to Georgia. As I've said, I will be very curious to see what Zachariah Branch does with the rest of his career. Mm-hmm. I tend to agree with Lamont that I am not convinced that Georgia is the place that can figure out how to do more with him than like Lincoln Riley could figure out. I think there are some other places with more fast-moving, explosive offenses that could get more out of him, maybe. But Steve asked if you traded eyeglasses, who would be able to see better? Neither of us would be able to see if we traded eyeglasses.
Okay, for different reasons, though.
Michael would be blinded by my glasses.
Because you are blind.
And his glasses would do practically nothing to correct my vision. So we would both be...
Her glasses, like, I
don't know if the folks can see just how thick my glasses are, but yeah.
Yeah, I could drive like this. Like, okay, I wouldn't drive like this. I don't drive like that. But, like, in a world where I needed to drive like that, I could make it home. That's what I'm saying.
I could not.
Yeah.
My new favorite game is to watch Washington Commanders games and take off my glasses and pretend like I'm watching USC have a good offense.
That is funny.
Yeah.
That's funny. All right. Any other questions?
That's all the ones that I wrote down.
Okay. All right.
Rama Murdy asked, "What are your plans for New Year's Eve?" I will be working, so that is what my plans are for New Year's Eve. And then after I finish work, I think my plans are probably going to be sitting in this exact chair, playing video games until midnight.
Yeah.
At which point, I will walk around the table and give my husband a nice little New Year's kiss, and then that will be New Year's Eve.
Keep it PG here. Keep it G. I think we'll be playing video games.
I'd love to pop some champagne, but he doesn't drink champagne, and I can't drink
a
whole bottle by
I
myself.
I will drink champagne. It's just champagne just tastes like funny Sprite.
All right. Well, then I'll get a bottle of champagne. We'll pop some champagne for New Year's Eve. Happy New Year! We'll do the whole thing, and then we'll keep playing video games.
Yeah, I think that sounds right. We want to thank you guys, at the bottom of our heart, for being here with us this year, 2024. We talked about before. I don't think we're gonna do a Fallout episode.
No, we are not gonna do a Fallout episode. I'm sorry, no.
We'll be back the following Monday, January 6th. Join us there. Storm the YouTube chat here on January 6th. We'll talk more USC football that way. But and start a new offseason, a new season anew. We'll talk about the over-under. Whoever won the over-under, I think, will be cool. I haven't looked in there to see if there is a winner. Let's see
It's
if it
not
was
me.
All the people that were Scotty C, Pickle, Ryan from Arizona, I think was in there. Jensen SC11. All the people that I'm forgetting, and this is embarrassing about. Thank you guys for tuning in. It is 1:14 a.m. Pacific time, and we have 214 people watching us right now, which is nuts. Nuts to think about. So we appreciate you guys. And yeah,
one of the things that I think makes the Carcasts, Carcasts were always, a fun time for us. But I think one thing that elevates the Carcast is being able to have the chat and being able to interact with people and sort of feel the vibes. And it's really invigorating to see this many people up so late. For some, like Josh and Buckeye Country is 4 a.m. And it's really invigorating to know that other people, number one, care as much as we do. Number two, appreciate that we care as much as we do. And number three, that you guys, are interested in spending your night with us after USC did USC things and gave us a win. So at least we're not totally distraught on on this thing. But you guys really make it worth it. It's not always. It is sometimes very difficult to gather up the energy to want to talk about this football team all the time, but we know that we'll have interaction on in the chat, and we know that we'll have interaction in the comments and from people on social media, and that is honestly keeps us going when we otherwise might abandon the endeavor. So much appreciated to all of you, including Lamont, who's up at 4:15 in Georgia. Also, he asked, how much longer is the portal open? It closes on December 31st, I think.
It's 7:15 p.m. in Port Moresby, Papua New Guinea, by the way.
Oh, nice.
So supper time. I don't know what they call dinner in Papua New Guinea, but Port Moresby. But
the transfer portal closes on December 28th, but that just means you can't.
That's today.
Enter the transfer portal after today, but you can still transfer in.
Oh.
And if your coach leaves, you still have a window after your coach leaves to transfer in, to enter the portal. Yes.
It's like those trap doors at airports. You can enter,
but you can't leave.
No, you can't go back.
Yeah.
Wait, no, that doesn't work.
No, you can go
It'll
back.
lock behind you.
Yeah.
Whatever. It made sense in my head. All right. Steve says 10:15 in New Zealand. Steve, what are we talking? Are we talking North Island, South Island? What's your favorite, Alicia? What's your favorite New Zealand city, Kiwi city? To me, I think it's Palmerston East. Is it Palmerston East or Palmerston North? It's Palmerston some direction. That would be my favorite.
My favorite is the first one that comes to my head as I'm trying to think of New Zealand cities, and it's bothering me that the one that it's at the tip of my tongue. It's there. It's Auckland.
Christchurch.
No, it was Christchurch. It was
Wellington.
Christchurch. It was Christchurch. Yeah, I don't know anything about any of these cities, but Christchurch was the first one that came. Yeah.
Queens. Yeah. What's the Queens one?
Queenstown.
Queenstown. Yeah. Oh, Steve says he's outside of Queenstown. Yeah. Hey, look at that. All right. People are asking to see Jesse for one more time in 2024.
Am I gonna do it?
You can turn the camera there. It's going to be very embarrassing.
You guys need to forgive the numerous. It's been Christmas, for the record. We may have thrown all of our gift wrapping stuff in the studio in a very unorganized way, and we may have had an air mattress that is dead that we need to throw away
that has still been on the floor since the last
that's
time.
been on the floor that we
you
haven't
saw
gotten
Jessie,
rid of
yeah.
because we're those kinds of people that Jessie now lays on. It's her thing. So hold on. All right, Michael, you need to tell me if they can see her.
Oh, there it is.
Jessie.
Okay, up. There you go. That's
Hi,
good.
Jessie Boo Boo.
You down a little bit? To your left?
To my left.
The other way. Okay. Oh. Back to the other way. There we go.
Jessie, say hi to the people.
Jessie. All right. People see her.
Jessie, do you want some squirrels?
Jessie, are there squirrels? Jessie, are there squirrels outside?
Well, now she's gone.
All right. Put the camera back on you because we're going to wrap this up with a Jessie story.
Oh, God. Okay. Yeah. Thank God Jessie's here to be on camera, guys.
Our little suicidal dog.
You tell the story.
I'll tell the story. Okay, we're going to wrap this up here with the story. Viewers just went up when Jessie popped on the camera, by the way. We have 30 more people than we did like 2 minutes ago, which is cool. All right. We got home Christmas Eve from Alicia's parents' house. And we had all of our gifts wrapped except for one, which was a gift basket that we had put together for my dad's fiance, which has a bunch of stuff in it. There were chocolates. There were candy canes. There was a hockey puck of Ibarra chocolate.
Mexican hot chocolate.
There were Hershey's Kisses. There were, were there Nutter Butters?
There might have been Nutter Butters because we're trying to get rid of the Nutter Butters. We didn't get rid of the Nutter Butters. Oh, shoot. Okay,
More
sorry.
Nutter Butters, yeah. There were socks, assortment of Burt's Bees stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Bunch of stuff in that gift basket. So that's on our ottoman. You and I are playing video games with our friends. We're playing FIFA. And I noticed, EAFC, whatever. And I noticed that Jessie has not been over here in a little bit. Where is she? I don't know where she went. So I was thirsty. I wanted to get something to drink. So I get up and to go grab a Pepsi or whatever I did. And I see that Jessie is in the living room next to the ottoman. And everything that was in the gift basket is now out of the gift basket. The socks, the Burt's Bees box. She is eating the Burt's Bees box with some of the stuff in there, including the creams, skin cream, and all that stuff. I wasn't overly worried. It was more, I was mad that she got into it, mad at us for leaving it out at the moment. Yeah, could skin cream be toxic? Sure, but it's also not going to taste good, and so she's not going to really eat it. You know what I mean? One of those things. More annoying that she tore this box up and stuff like that, right? But then I remember there was a lot of chocolate in there. Again, chocolate is bad for dogs. It's toxic. But milk chocolate, surprisingly, actually isn't really that bad because, and Europeans love to say this about American chocolate, not very chocolatey.
There's not that much chocolate in it. Yeah.
Not much actual chocolate in milk chocolate. So the Hershey's Kisses that she ate, not a huge problem. A little annoying that she ate the wrappers, the little aluminum tin, sure.
Mm-hmm.
But the biggest issue is the chocolate Ibarra.
When we find the wrapper of the hockey puck size thing of Mexican hot chocolate.
Solid, concentrated chocolate. I Google, what is a lethal amount of chocolate for a dog? And they have this little thing, where you put in how many ounces. So we Google how many ounces. It's in one of those little hockey puck things. And this thing comes up and the type of chocolate it is. And it says, severe, take your dog to the emergency vet right now. My lovely wife goes to Google herself and searches what?
How to induce vomiting in dog.
Yeah. Well, you don't ask full questions. You just induce vomiting dog how.
Yeah.
And then you see here that hydrogen peroxide.
I learned that you can give the dog hydrogen peroxide to induce vomiting, and that should be the first thing you do to try to see if you can get them to throw it all up. And if they don't, or whatever, like they start to show adverse signs, then you take them to the emergency vet. So yes. We rushed to go get the hydrogen peroxide. I mix it with some water like the internet told me to, threw some pumpkin puree in there so that she would drink it, and set it down next to her, and she laps it all up completely. And the online told us that it would take probably 15 minutes to go into effect. So I think
it took 12.
I think I set an alarm on my, no, it was more than 15, because I set a 15-minute alarm on my phone, on my watch, and the 15-minute alarm went off. And that's when I started to look over, like, okay, well, is she doing anything? And it was almost exactly at that moment that she stood up from where she was laying and started doing that like walk that with her head down towards the ground, like, oh, here it comes. And then she starts to retch. And you know how when you brush your dog, like you give them a thorough brushing and you end up with so much hair that it's like you have a second dog? Jessie threw up a second dog worth of...
I'm not going to show you guys the picture.
Of stomach contents.
We took a picture of the thing. I am not bullshitting. Dead ass. I would say the lake of puke that she threw out there, I would say 3/4 of an inch tall. Would you say?
It was very tall.
Maybe an inch at some points. An inch.
Yeah.
And I would say it was maybe an 11 by 17.
It was
tabloid size of paper.
Significant area.
And upwards of an inch in areas in terms of height.
And then the funniest thing is, after the relief of, number one, seeing her vomit at all, number two, seeing just how much she vomited, number three, the second bout of vomiting, at which point she puked up her dinner from that night, which very much confirmed to us that, like, anything that she'd eaten after the dinner was expelled, which means all the chocolate was gone, all that kind of stuff. Then, after all of that, I go to clean up the thing of puke that is on our carpet, because of course it was on the carpet.
We were probably stupid that we didn't lock her out into the...
Nowhere that we could have gone. We would rather her do it on this carpet than the carpet that's next to the hardwood floors. So it was just like, we're just going to eat it. We're just going to take it. I go to start cleaning it up, and I notice that it doesn't smell like I expected vomit to smell. In fact, it smells quite nice, like peppermint.
And then Alicia leaned down and started lapping it up, and I said, no, bad girl, no.
Thomas in the chat says I can't clean up puke or I puke more. But like I said, it just smelled like peppermint. And then as I'm like scooping it up into like the trash bag, I'm noticing like these chunks of just little like few inch pieces of the candy canes that are still enwrapped in plastic that she has eaten. And it became a very comical, it went from very terrifying, anxiety ridden, like fear to just the most comical thing that's happened to us this year. Cleaning up peppermint flavored dog puke. So
yeah. Thomas in the chat says viscous. It was viscous. I think
it was chunky.
It was okay. The closest I can, in terms of consistency, that I could say, I'm not joking, it's lava.
Yes,
It
the
was
way
like
that lava
lava.
has like rocks and stuff in it. Is
Yes,
not,
but also the way
like
that
thickness.
like yes,
Like
it is viscous, but not like very viscous.
yeah,
Like more like sludgy,
it was quite.
but like solidly girthy. It was crazy. It was I was telling you, like, if we would have eaten that much food and needed to throw up, I think we would have died.
If I had eaten that much chocolate, I also would have thrown up without having to give myself hydrogen peroxide.
Insane.
So now everybody knows. Now everyone who's listening to this podcast, if your dog eats something that they're not supposed to eat, go online and search how much. There's like a ratio. We ended up giving her 3 tablespoons of peroxide with 3 tablespoons of water. So like, depending on the size of your dog, change it up. But it works. It worked. It saved us a Christmassy vet visit, which thank God.
Seeing her, it was one of those weird moments. Seeing her puke. The first thing I thought was, she is puking out cash. No, sorry, out stuff. But my cash is going back into
the wallet
because we don't have to pay $9,000 at the vet.
Yes,
but also we're happy that she's with us.
She's very
we love
good,
her very much.
Yeah, she's fine. She's healthy. She's just as needy as always. And yeah. Hey.
Yeah. West Texas Mike, big ups, says, let's go ahead and take this podcast to 4 a.m.
Yeah, I don't know that the people expected they'd get a 30-minute anecdote about the dog puking up chocolate.
We're over 2 hours.
West Texas Mike said, I have no idea what's going on anymore, and I don't even know what day it is right now. I don't either.
How are 205 people still on it?
They want to know about the dog and her puking adventures.
Thank you, West Texas Mike.
Yeah, we appreciate you.
We love you. I don't know that we're going to make it to 4 a.m.
I'm officially out of my watermelon sangria that I've diluted with cranberry juice to make it taste palatable.
Yeah.
So I think that signals the end. Yeah.
I'm out of water because of all the super chats, clearly. Yeah. And I'm out of Pepsi, which I put in a Coke glass because I'm kinky like that. So yeah, I think we got to call it. We love you guys. Seriously, we will be back January 6th, Monday. And talk more USC football. Talk more about the transfer portal. We'll look back at over/under. It'll be a grand old time. We hope to see you there. Give us your calls. 818-643-7227. Email address, reign_of_troy at fansided.com. Yeah. Until then, happy Christmas. Happy Hanukkah. Happy Kwanzaa. Happy Transfer Portal Day. Happy New Year. Festivus, we already did. I think I'm out of stuff. Boxing Day already passed us. Yeah, that's it. All right, we will see you guys later. Until next time, see ya.
Happy Liverpool's top of the table. See ya. See ya.
The button wasn't working. I'm sorry. We're back again, but now we're gone for real. See ya.
See ya.
See ya.